everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to Immigration Chat with me, Attorney Lillian. I am the owner and lawyer at Lily Legal, where we help our clients get status for themselves and for their family using the U.S. immigration law system. So today, I want to talk to you about how Liberians in the U.S. can get status because they're Liberians. Okay. So if you are a Liberian, if you know someone that's a Liberian and they have been in the US since November 20th, 2014, well, this is for you. And please do share this with your community if you may know someone that would benefit from this. Okay. This is such a big deal. I love talking about it as always. If you have watched my page for any length of time since this became a thing, I have been talking about this. So go ahead and share this with your community because there is a deadline coming up and it is coming up quick. Okay. And I want to make sure that all of you out there that may benefit from this are actually, and that everyone that can benefit from this is actually benefiting from it. Okay. So just make sure, again, this is for Liberians and their family. Okay, not just the person that's getting the not just the person that's the Liberian, but if it's a Liberian is married to someone that is not Liberian, they can also benefit from this. So I am stoked to be talking to you about this. Okay, so again, this is all about how Liberians in the US can get status based on the fact that they are Liberian and they have been in the US since November 20th, 2014. Okay, so stay tuned and I'll be talking all about that. And if you fit into this category and you want to come and meet with me and see if you qualify, if you meet all the requirements, go ahead, set up a consultation so that I can go over your particular case and tell you exactly what the next steps are, if you qualify, and how to actually get this green card. This is one of those topics that I am always excited to talk about, and I hope that you are excited as well. So, like I said, this is all about Liberians and their family. Okay. I know sometimes when people talk about this particular bill, they're talking about, oh, Liberians can get status, but they leave out the family members that can get status as well. So it's not just the individual, right? This can change the whole family's dynamic. So I am always, always excited to talk about this. So let's get into it. The first thing, like I said before, the first thing you need to know is that in order to qualify, right, in order to qualify, you have to be the principal person has to show that they're Liberian. Unfortunately, that is a requirement and there's no way around that particular requirement. But something to keep in mind there is family members. Okay, family members of the Liberian national can also gain status. And then people always ask which family members. So the qualifying family members are the spouse and unmarried children. Okay, spouse and unmarried children can qualify if the principal applicant, the Liberian, qualifies. Now, if the spouse is not Liberian, but they are married to a Liberian that qualifies, well, then they qualify as well. even if they don't meet all the requirements. I will go into every single requirement so that you know what they are before you even start. Okay, I will go through all of that, but I just want to let you know that it's not just the Liberian national. Sometimes people feel that if they are married to a Liberian but they themselves are not Liberian, that they cannot benefit from this. But actually, no. If you are the spouse, even if you don't meet all the requirements, you can always you can also benefit from this bill. And it is such an amazing thing for my Liberian clients. And I will talk to you about not just the requirements, but but also the benefits, because sometimes we talk all about, oh, this is all the requirements, but I want to also talk to you about the benefits of actually applying for this, because it is so good. It is so good. You can go from, right, a person can go from not having status, not being able to work, to not only getting their green card, but being able to file for citizenship right away. That's why I love this. That's why I always, like, when I meet with a client and they are Liberian, I always screen for this, because I want to make sure that they are aware. Okay. I want to make sure that they are aware of this and that we are talking about it, because if they are not aware of it, oh, honey, we need to make sure that everyone that could be aware of it is aware of it. Okay. Now, the next thing is, I want you to know that there is a deadline. Okay. Every time I talk about this particular bill, I always say there is a deadline. And now we are about a month away from the deadline. Your application has to be received. Okay. You are not going to the post office on this date. You have already mailed your application. It is being received by USCIS by December 20th, 2021. Okay. Again, you have mailed your application, ensuring that it will get to USCIS by December 20th, 2021. And this is important because sometimes people, when they see deadlines, they think, oh, I just have to mail it by that date. No, not in this situation. Nope. In this situation, it needs to be received. So if you're mailing the application, remember, we're going into holiday season. Post office might be slowing down on their delivery. Make sure you're getting guaranteed next day delivery. Okay. That's what you want. If you're mailing your applications out on, let's say, December 17th, make sure you're doing next day delivery guaranteed, because you don't want your application to get to some post office warehouse and it's put, in the wrong place and it doesn't get to USCIS on time, because this deadline is non-negotiable. In order for you to benefit from this, your application has to be in by December 20th, 2001. Oh, 2021. I'm sorry. I'm going backwards. So, application has to be in by December 20th, 2021. Non negotiable, unless we get some grace from Congress and they extend it for another year. But do not rely on that, because we don't have any word from Congress that this will be extended for another year. So you want to make sure, if you qualify, that you're applying within this deadline and not relying on some maybe it will be extended. Okay. So December 20th, 2021, your application has to be in hand. Okay. So now that I have talked about who can apply, who it can benefit, what the deadline is, let's talk about what this actually is. So, LRIF, as you can see from the topic of this video, is basically a bill passed by Congress in 2019 that makes it possible for Liberian nationals, right? This bill makes it possible for Liberian nationals to gain status in the US, um, using basically makes it possible for Liberian nationals to get status in the US. Okay. It is such a great opportunity for people to gain status, go from being a green card holder to basically ha- go from not having status at all to being a green card holder. Like it happens that quickly. So I'm not sure what is going on. My people on Facebook are saying that they are not um, seeing the live, but it looks fine on my end. So just let me know if you are watching on Facebook and um, you're not seeing this, so that I know exactly what is going on and I can help figure it out. Okay. So just give me a few minutes. Let me make sure that it is being shared publicly, so that everyone can see it. Okay. So sorry about that if you are on Facebook and are missing these great nuggets. But as always, you all know, if you are watching my video, you know this. You can always watch it on the replay. Okay. You can watch it on the replay. And that is one of the best ways to see this if you cannot see it um, live. Okay. So if you are watching this on the replay, welcome. Okay. Put your questions in the comments. That's why I'm here. And then if you are on Facebook and you have questions, go ahead, and you are live with me, go ahead and put that in the comments as well. Okay. Because I want to make sure that everyone that has a question is able to basically ask me your questions. That is not, um, we are not hiding our, we don't hide our lives. We want you to know what's going on, how you can benefit. So go ahead and continue watching if you are watching. Okay. So we are live here on Facebook and YouTube. Now, let's get into more detail on the qualifications, right? So we know that we have a deadline, December 20th. We know that there are um, that not only the Liberian national can qualify, but if they are married to someone, even if the person is not a Liberian national, they can still qualify. If they have unmarried children that are not Liberian nationals or cannot prove their Liberian nationality, the children can qualify because the parent qualifies. Okay. And the parent is applying for this benefit. So now, the other good thing is you don't have to show that you came in with proper documentation. Okay. You don't have to show that you came into the US with proper documentation in order for you to be able to actually get this status. So even if you came in without documentation, even if you overstayed your visa, you can still qualify. The main requirement here are: one, you can prove that you're a Liberian national. The best way to prove that you are a Liberian national is to have your Liberian passport. Okay. This is the absolute best way, because I have been seeing people not be able to gain um, this because they only have a birth certificate or they're not able to get their passport. Well, guess what? You can apply for a Liberian passport at the Liberian embassy in the US with your um, Liberian birth certificate. So make sure that if you don't have your passport, that you are starting the process of getting your passport. Again, if you have your Liberian birth certificate, you can certainly file, but just know the officers might want to see that passport, because your passport is your best proof that you are from that country. Okay. It is your best proof that this country, Liberia, agrees that you are their citizen. Therefore, they are willing to give you a passport. Okay, so that is really the best way for you to show that you're a Liberian national. So that's the first requirement. Show that you're a Liberian national. The second requirement is to show that you have been continuously physically present in the US since November 20th, 2014. Okay. November 20th, 2014. You have to show that you've been in the US, you've maintained your physical presence in the US. So what does this mean? And I get questions about people, from people that they came in 2001. Does that mean they don't qualify? No. If you have been in the US since 2001 and you can show that you've been in the US um, from 2001 till now, you can get this green card, right? But the good thing about this is it's not asking you to show that you've been in the US since 2001. It's only asking you to show that you've been physically in the US since November 20th, 2014. Okay? In order to get this green card, remember, you have to show you're a Liberian national. And secondly, you have to show that you have been physically present in the US since November 20th, 2014. Now, if you can show that you've been here longer than 2014, that's great, because guess what? When you get your green card, it's going to show the date that you were able to show that you've been in the US. So let's say you're able to show documentation from 2001 to today. When you get your green card, it should at least say 2001, because you were able to show that documentation. But the government is not requiring you to do that. They're only requiring you to show from 2014 to present. They're even making it easy. Okay. They're making it easier on you by limiting the amount of time that you have to show physical presence, so that you can actually have an easier time of proving this. Okay. And how do you prove physical presence? You prove it by, if you've went to school in the US, if you've worked in the US, if you've paid taxes, if you have any documentation that you can only receive if you're physically in the US, well, you can use that. So bank statements showing transactions, those things show that you have been physically in the US, and you can use that to show your physical presence. So I absolutely encourage people, even if you are not sure you have all the documentation, talk to me. Okay. Let's meet. Let's talk about this, because there are ways to get these documentations. There's things that you may not even think about as proof. Okay. And it's actually proof. For example, if you have a BJ's membership or Costco membership, those ones where you have the card and it may even have your picture on it. I know when we had a Sam's Club membership, it does have your picture on the card. And sometimes you can pull the report that says how long you've had the membership. So you can use things like that. I know it's unconventional. It's not the things that you think about to show physical presence, but it's the things that you may not think about. I think about them, right? Even though you're not thinking about those things as a way of showing physical presence, it's my job to think about it, all the different ways to show it. Okay. Now, the third requirement is that your application has to be in by, right, on or before on or before. So that means they have to receive the application on or before December 20th, 2021. Okay? They have to receive it on or before that date. So do not go on December 20th trying to mail the application. It's too late. Unless you have, you found a service that can do same day delivery. Okay? If you don't have a service that can do same day delivery, if you're trying to mail your application on December 20th, it's too late. They have to receive it on that date. Okay? So it's really important that you don't miss the deadline. It's really important that you do not miss the deadline. Now, something else that people worry about is I didn't come with proper documentation, or I don't have proof of how I came into the US because I came through Mexico, right? Or I came with a visa, but I overstayed my visa. Okay. If you are in that situation where you overstayed your visa and you're worried that this is not a possibility for you, well, let me tell you, the fact that you overstayed your visa, it doesn't matter how many years you overstayed your visa, you can still qualify, because that's the great thing about this bill. Okay, this law makes it possible for you to apply even though you overstayed your visa. This is something that's like reserved for, immediate relatives of US citizens, victims of domestic violence, right? Um Victims of crime. This is reserved for them, the waiving of the fact that you overstayed. So it's really, really important that you take advantage of this, because when it goes away, we don't know when something like this will come back. Okay. So if you qualify, know that the fact that you overstayed your visa does not, should not discourage you from applying, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you overstayed your visa. It does not matter. It does not matter if you came through from Mexico. It does not matter. Okay. What does matter is if you have any misrepresentation. For example, if you came in with someone else's passport. Okay. So that would matter, but you may qualify for a waiver. So again, discuss it with an immigration lawyer. Don't just assume you don't qualify. Okay. For this, you also do not need an affidavit of support, because I get that too. When people are like, hey, I have, I don't have anyone that can do an affidavit of support for me. It's just me here. I don't have any family or friends that can do an affidavit of support for me. What do I do? How can I still apply for this? Well. You don't need an affidavit of support. Again, the great thing about this, you don't need an affidavit of support in order to be able to apply for this green card. Most people, when you're applying for a green card, you need an affidavit of support. Okay. You need someone that's either a US citizen or permanent resident that's willing to do an affidavit of support for you. For this, Liberian green card, I call it a miracle. Okay. For this, you do not need an affidavit of support. You just have to apply. Okay. So keep that in mind. You don't need an affidavit of support. You don't need to prove that you've been in status. So even if you do not have status at the moment, you can still apply. Even if you never had Liberian TPS, you can still apply. Even if you've never had DED, you can still apply. Okay. Because I know some people that was always, there was timelines, deadlines that they didn't meet for TPS or DED, and they're worried that that they're not able to apply for this. Well, it doesn't matter if you apply for TPS or if you apply for DED. If you meet the requirements that I'm going over, you can apply. So the only people that are absolutely not eligible to apply for this are people that have any aggravated felony convictions, people that have 2 or more crimes involving moral turpitude, and people that persecuted other people. So, if you have a criminal conviction or any criminal charge for that matter. You should be discussing that with an immigration lawyer before you file, because you want to make sure that it's not something that's going to affect you. I've had those situations where I have to have discussions with my clients when I pull their when they tell me, oh, I had this charge years ago, what can be done? And I'm able to get the docket sheets and look at it and be able to tell them whether that's going to be a problem or not. Okay, so it's really important that before you file, because you don't want to be in a situation where you file, the criminal charges becomes an issue that will make you end up in immigration court. That's not what we want here. So before you file, make sure you're discussing this with an immigration lawyer. That's the best thing you can do for yourself, is at least meet with an immigration lawyer. Make sure you qualify. Make sure if you have any criminal charges, it's not going to be an issue. Make sure if you had previously applied for a visa, that you know your full immigration history, that you're not going to end up having any misrepresentation issues, because those are not waived. Okay, those will still follow you. So it's really important that you understand the requirements, and the best best thing about this is that if you meet all the requirements, the officer has to must must approve your case. Okay, if you meet all the requirements and there's nothing in your immigration history that's negative, there's no criminal issues to worry about, well, the officer has no choice but to approve your case. Okay, it's not up to the officer whether they like you or not, whether you dressed up for the interview or not, right? Their personal feelings do not come into this at all. So as long as you meet the requirements, you know you're getting approved. Okay, so that's why I say it's important to know your own immigration history and make sure that's not going to affect you. Because if you have something in your immigration history that could potentially affect your ability to get this, you want to know it before you even go to the interview. Okay, and I've had clients where USCIS has said, well, we think, your previous marriage was fake, so we're not going to approve you. And we were able to argue against that, right? We were able to argue against them and win. So it is really important, again, that you are speaking with an immigration lawyer before you're making these decisions of whether to apply. And then if you apply and you have an issue, like an officer saying that that there's an issue with your immigration history and they don't want to approve you, well, you need to talk to an immigration lawyer, because you want to make sure that you are putting yourself in the best possible position to beat the officer and their allegations. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go over the requirements once more. One, you have to be a Liberian national. Two, you have to show that you've been continuously present in the US since November 20th, 2014. Three, you have to file your application on or before December 20th, 2021. Okay, this is the deadline. This is the big deadline. You don't want to miss that. Know that you don't need an affidavit of support. You don't need to be able to show that you came in with documentation. If you overstayed your visa, it's not going to be an issue. But also know, if you have criminal charges, they may be an issue depending on how serious they were. So you should be discussing with an immigration lawyer before you go ahead and file. And then if you have any misrepresentation or any negative things in your immigration history, again, you should be discussing that as well, because you want to make sure it's not going to affect you, or at least if it comes up, your lawyer already knows and is already in the process of putting things in place that will make it possible for you to still get status. Okay, So, best thing about this, like I said, the officer must approve the case if you meet the requirements. They don't have a choice. It's not like a marriage based case where you go in, you have your marriage certificate, you do all of that, and the officer's like, well, I just don't believe your marriage is real. I don't think you have enough documentation. It's my discretion. No, there's no discretion here. As long as you meet the requirements and you can prove every single requirement, the officer must approve your case. Okay? Now, when I talked about family members that can qualify, your spouse and your unmarried children. So if you're a Liberian national and you meet all these requirements and you're ready to file your own application, and then you're looking at your spouse and your children and they do not have status, and you're worried that, oh, I get status and then I give them status, or how long is it all going to take before I'm able to give my spouse and my unmarried children status? Well, your spouse and your children, unmarried children, can apply with you as long as the relationship existed when you file. So let's say you file your application today and then you get married tomorrow. Unfortunately, your spouse will not qualify. But if you get married today and file your application tomorrow, your spouse would qualify. Okay. So the relationship has to exist before you file. That's really important. Secondly, your spouse and your unmarried children do not have to be Liberian nationals, and they do not have to meet the physical presence requirement. So they can have come in 2 years ago, right, in 2019, and they will still qualify because you qualified and you're applying. Okay, so it's really important. So the being Liberian national and the physical presence is waived for your spouse and your unmarried children. However, they still have to meet all the other requirements, like filing on or before December 20th, 2021, not having any serious criminal convictions. All of those things, they still have to um, meet those requirements, but they don't have to be a Liberian national, and they do not have to meet the physical presence requirement. And that is something that is really important. If you are in an immigrant family, you know that not everyone comes in at the same time in a family. So if one person that qualifies meets the requirements and then the rest of the family do not, this makes it possible for the rest of the family to also qualify. So this is really, really important. Now, filing a successful application. Okay. The best thing you can do is to document, document. So the physical presence, you need to document that you've been in the US. It's really important. And then document that you are a Liberian national. Like I said, the best way to do that is to have a Liberian passport. Okay. That's the best way. It's not the only way. You can also use your birth certificate, but just know the best way that USCIS seems to like the best is the Liberian passport. Okay. Now, who can apply? So I've had people that are already in immigration court and they want to know if they would qualify. The answer is yes. Even if you were in immigration court and you lost your case and you're appealing your case, you qualify. Even if you're in the US and you have order of deportation and you never left, you qualify. Again, you just have to meet the requirements. But it doesn't matter what your particular status is as far as immigration court or not, you still can qualify and you can still apply. Okay, so it's really, really important that you pay attention to this. If you have any criminal records, right? That's one of the things. If you have any criminal records, you want to make sure that you get certified copies of everything. because you have to disclose it, right? It might not be an issue, but you still have to disclose it. So it's really important that you go ahead, get those certified docket sheets so that you can just send it in and know that it's not something that's going to require them to ask you for it later. Okay. So disclose any criminal arrests, convictions, all of those things. You really want to make sure that you have the documents ready to go and send that in. Okay. Now, you do have to pay the application fee. Okay. Those are not being waived. You still have to pay the um, green card application fee, which as of today is $1,225. Okay, so you want to make sure you save the money for that because that's really important. You can't really file the forms without the application fee unless you qualify for a fee waiver, but you want to make sure that your case is received and accepted. So the best way to do that is to go ahead and pay the filing fee. Okay. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions about this, how Liberians can get a green card if they have been in the US since November 20th, 2014. Okay. If you have any questions about that, about qualifications, anything like that, go ahead and put it in the comments. I am happy to respond to you. As always, I am available. So when you comment on the video, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, I usually go back and respond to you. So go ahead and do that. I know the deadline is coming up, and some people might be scrambling right now to try and get everything together. So if you have questions, if you want to schedule a consultation with me so that so that we can go over your situation and see if you qualify, go ahead and do that by calling my office at 508-443-1788 or by going to my website, lilylegal.com, and clicking on the schedule consultation button. And you'll be able to schedule a time to speak with me, and I can basically guide you on the best way forward for you and whether you qualify and all of that. Okay. So go ahead and do that if you are unsure or if you would like some help in your particular situation. If you have questions that you're not able to get the answers to, go ahead and schedule that consultation so that I can help you out. My goal with these videos is to make sure that as many people that qualify for this get this information and apply for this. Okay. This is so unique. This is so important. This is so life changing that I want to make sure that as many people know about this as possible. Now, if you watch this from the beginning, you remember me saying that you can go from not having status to becoming a citizen in just however long it takes to process the applications. Okay. Because guess what? In order when you get your green card through this, the date is either going to be however far back you're able to show that you've been in the US, or it's going to say November 20th, 2014. And guess what? Anyone that's been in the US and has had their green card for 5 years can apply for citizenship if they qualify. So when you get that green card and you look at residence since date and it says November 2014 or a date earlier than that, guess what that means? That means you have the 5 years in order to apply for citizen. So the day that you get your green card, you can just put in your citizenship application. Okay. The day you get that physical card, you can go ahead and file your citizenship application. I have done this for my clients, so I know. Okay. This is one of the great, great benefits of this. You can go from not having status to being a citizen in just using just this one tool. So if you qualify, if you know someone who qualifies, if you know someone who needs to hear this and this can change their life, right? Um, go ahead and share this with them, give them the information, let them at least have the option of applying for this because it is so life changing. Like I said, you can go from not having status to becoming a citizen with just this one bill that was passed. Okay, that's how important immigration bills are when they are passed by Congress. It is so important. So if you if you or someone you know may benefit from seeing this, go ahead and share it with them. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button. And as always, if you are listening in a place where you can subscribe and you don't want to miss any of my uploads, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time. And I am so grateful for you all. And once again, I am Lillian Chukura. I am the owner of Lily Legal, where we help our clients get immigration status for themselves and for their family using the U.S. immigration law system. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your Friday and your weekend. And I will see you later. Bye for now.